My raised beds this year gave me some of the biggest harvests I've ever pulled out of my backyard. Tomatoes stacked 3 deep on the vine, peppers so heavy the branches needed stakes, more zucchini than I knew what to do with, to the point where I was leaving bags of it on my neighbor's porch just to keep up. Every morning I'd walk out there with my coffee and genuinely be excited to see what had ripened overnight. It felt like everything I'd learned over the years was finally clicking into place. But 20 feet away, along the side fence, my container garden looked like it had been through a drought that never ended. Same summer, same water source, same gardener, same seed packets in some cases. And somehow one setup thrived while the other one quietly fell apart all season long, plant by plant, week by week, until by August, I almost didn't want to walk past that side of the yard anymore. I want to walk you through exactly what went wrong, because every single mistake I'm about to show you was something I could have avoided with about 10 extra minutes of planning back in spring. None of these were exotic problems. None of them required special equipment or some rare gardening knowledge I didn't have access to. They were small oversights that compounded over months until the damage was impossible to ignore. If you're running a container garden right now, or you're thinking about starting one next season, these 4 mistakes are the ones that quietly wreck more container gardens than pests, disease, or bad weather ever will. And I'd rather you hear them from someone who actually lived through them than learn them the hard way yourself. Mistake number 1, reusing pots that were too small from the start. The first mistake I made was reusing containers that were simply too small for what I was trying to grow inside them. I had a stack of pots left over from a few seasons back, stacked up against the fence all winter, and instead of buying anything new, I just pulled them out, filled them up, and got planting. It felt efficient at the time. It felt like I was saving money and being smart about it, reusing what I already had, instead of adding more plastic and more expense to a hobby that can get expensive fast if you let it. What I didn't think through was that a tomato plant that's going to grow 5 or 6 feet tall and carry pounds of fruit needs a root system that can actually support all of that weight, and a shallow 10-inch pot simply isn't built for that job. It might look fine on the shelf at the garden center, but the moment you put a heavy fruiting plant in there, you're setting it up to struggle from week 1. Within a few weeks, my plants looked stunted next to what was going on in my raised beds. The leaves were smaller. The color was a duller green instead of that deep, healthy shade you want to see. And by midsummer, I was watering some of these pots twice a day just to keep them from wilting by afternoon. I remember standing out there around 6 in the evening, watching a plant that I'd already soaked that morning, drooping like it hadn't seen water in a week. That's the giveaway that your container is too small. If you're watering constantly and the plant still looks thirsty an hour later, the problem usually isn't your watering schedule. It's that there simply isn't enough soil volume in that pot to hold moisture or support real root growth in the first place. A small pot heats up faster too, especially if it's a dark-colored plastic sitting in direct sun most of the day, which just accelerates how quickly that moisture disappears. The fix here is almost embarrassingly simple, and it's the kind of thing I already knew but didn't apply. For anything that's going to fruit heavily, you want at least a 12-inch depth and width at minimum. And honestly, bigger is almost always better in containers. More soil means more of a buffer against heat, more room for roots to spread out and actually anchor the plant, and a lot less stress on everything above the soil line. If I'd spent the extra money up front on a handful of larger containers instead of reusing what I had, I think this entire season would have looked completely different for these plants. Mistake number 2, skipping drainage and telling myself it would be fine. Mistake number 2 was skipping drainage without really thinking it through. A few of my containers didn't have drainage holes to begin with. Decorative pots I'd picked up because I liked the look of them, and instead of drilling them out or swapping to something more practical, I told myself the soil mix would handle it. I figured a good quality potting mix would drain well enough on its own that it wouldn't matter. It didn't work out that way. After a stretch of heavy rain in early summer, several days in a row where the ground never really got a chance to dry out, I pulled one of those plants to check on the roots, and the smell hit me before I even got it fully out of the pot. That sour, swampy smell is root rot, and once you smell it, the plant is usually already in serious trouble. Roots need oxygen just as much as they need water, and when water has nowhere to go, It just sits at the bottom of that container and slowly suffocates everything down there, turning healthy white roots into mushy brown ones that can't do their job anymore. What made this frustrating is that it's one of those mistakes you don't see happening in real time. Everything looks fine on the surface right up until the leaves start yellowing and drooping, and by then the damage below the soil line is already done. There's no dramatic moment where you catch it early. It just quietly builds underground while you're busy paying attention to everything else in the garden that's demanding your time. If there's one lesson I'd want every container gardener watching this to walk away with, it's to physically check that water is running out the bottom of every single pot after you water it. Not just assume it's fine because the pot looked like it had holes when you bought it. Actually check. If it isn't draining, drill holes yourself, add a layer of coarse material at the bottom to keep things moving, or move the plant into a container that's actually built for growing food instead of one that was designed to just hold a plant for looks on a porch somewhere. That one habit alone would have saved me 2 plants this year that I ended up pulling out entirely. Mistake number 3, the watering routine that fell apart by midsummer. The third mistake, and honestly the one that snuck up on me the most, was inconsistent watering. My raised beds are close to the house, right off the back patio, so I walk past them constantly throughout the day, and it's easy to remember to check on them without even trying. My containers are tucked along the side fence, out of my normal path, and I'll be honest, out of sight really did mean out of mind for a lot of the summer. Some days I'd water them first thing in the morning before the heat set in, which is exactly when you should be doing it. Other days I wouldn't think about them at all until the sun was already high overhead and the soil had gone completely dry and pulled away from the sides of the pot. That kind of feast or famine watering pattern is brutal, on container plants specifically, because unlike garden soil, potting mix in a container heats up fast and dries out even faster since there's no surrounding earth to insulate it and hold on to moisture the way an in-ground bed does. I started noticing blossom end rot on my tomatoes, that ugly black leathery patch that shows up on the bottom of the fruit, and for a while I assumed it was a calcium problem, so I even went out and bought a calcium spray thinking that would fix it. It wasn't a calcium problem at all, and the spray barely made a difference. Blossom end rot in containers is almost always caused by inconsistent moisture, not a lack of nutrients in the soil. When the water supply swings wildly from soaked to bone dry, the plant can't move calcium efficiently to where it needs to go inside the fruit, and the fruit pays the price for it regardless of how much calcium is actually available in the soil. Once I finally sat down and built a fixed watering schedule for those containers, instead of watering whenever I happened to remember, the new fruit coming in stopped showing that damage almost immediately, within about a week and a half. That was one of the more satisfying fixes of the whole season because it was so cheap and so simple, and it made such a visible difference so quickly. If you're growing in containers, consistency matters more than volume. A predictable watering routine, even a basic one you set a phone reminder for, will save you more plants over a season than any fertilizer or amendment ever will. Mistake number 4, cramming too much into one pot. The fourth mistake was overcrowding, and this one is really on me, because I knew better going in. I had a beautiful vision in my head of a lush, full container packed with a tomato plant, a few basil plants tucked around the base, and some marigolds around the edges for pest control. The kind of arrangement you see all over social media that looks absolutely gorgeous in photos. It looked incredible for about 3 weeks. Right around the point, everything was still small and hadn't started really fighting each other for space yet. Then everything started competing for the same limited soil, the same limited water, and the same limited light, and the whole arrangement went downhill fast. The basil got leggy and bitter tasting, reaching up and stretching for sunlight the tomato was blocking overhead, which completely ruined the flavor I was hoping to get out of it. The marigolds never filled out the way they should have, staying small and sparse instead of the full bushy plants I'd grown in previous years. And the tomato itself, the plant I actually cared about most in that whole arrangement, ended up producing noticeably less fruit than a nearly identical tomato variety I had growing completely alone in a pot, the exact same size, sitting right next to it for comparison. Containers just don't have the room that garden soil does. There's a fixed, limited amount of nutrients and water available in that pot, and every root system in there is drawing from that exact same limited pool at the exact same time. When you pack too much into one space, nothing actually gets what it needs to thrive, and you end up with several mediocre, underperforming plants instead of one plant that's genuinely productive and healthy. The lesson here was a hard one for me to accept because it goes against every instinct that says more plants packed in means more harvest coming out. In containers, less is almost always more. Give your main plant the whole pot to itself if it's something you actually care about harvesting, or pair it with something that genuinely won't compete for the same resources at the same depth, and you'll get a stronger, more reliable harvest than you would trying to cram in variety just for the sake of a fuller-looking arrangement. What a wrecked container garden actually teaches you. Looking back at the whole season, what strikes me is that none of these 4 mistakes were about a lack of knowledge. I know better than to skip drainage. I know overcrowding is a problem. I've said as much on this channel before. I've read the same advice you're probably reading right now, and I'd have told you all of it myself if you'd asked me back in March. But knowing something and actually applying it consistently, every single time, on every single container, are 2 very different things, especially when you're juggling a raised bed garden, a container garden, a job, and everything else life throws at you during the busiest stretch of the growing season. That's really the honest takeaway here. Container gardening forgives almost nothing. Garden soil has this built-in buffer, this margin for error, because there's simply so much of it surrounding the roots, holding moisture, buffering temperature swings, and giving you a day or 2 of grace if you forget to water. A container has none of that built-in forgiveness. Every shortcut you take, every corner you cut, shows up in the plant within days, not weeks. And by the time you notice, you're already playing catch-up instead of getting ahead of the problem. Fixing it before next season. So if you're setting up containers for next season, or you're mid-season right now and starting to notice some of these same warning signs creeping in, go back through these 4 with me one more time. Check your container size against what you're actually trying to grow in it, and don't assume last year's pot is automatically the right fit for this year's plant. Confirm real drainage by actually watching the water run out the bottom, not just assume drainage because the pot came with holes stamped into the plastic. Build a watering routine you can actually stick to on your busiest week, not just one that sounds good on paper when you're planning it out in spring. And give your plants room to actually be productive instead of packing them in tight for the sake of a fuller-looking pot in the first few weeks. None of this requires a bigger budget or more time than you already have. It just requires making these decisions early, before the plants go in the ground, instead of trying to fix them after the damage is already visible. If you've made any of these same mistakes this season, drop a comment and let me know which one hit closest to home, because I genuinely bet it's not just me. Container gardening humbles all of us at some point, no matter how many seasons we've got under our belt. And if this saved you from making one of these mistakes yourself next year, that's exactly why I put this video together in the first place. Subscribe if you want more honest, real garden footage instead of the picture-perfect version everyone else likes to show you. Because the truth is, we all fail sometimes, and there's a lot more to actually learn from a wrecked container garden than there ever is from a perfect one.